it's kind of going to be like this dark side of love is being highlighted, but what I really think that it's kind of indicative of is like the connection of the dark and the dark masculine and feminine, like being in tune with that aspect. So a lot of times you might hear people talk about the dark feminine or dark masculine, and it has like this negative connotation, when really, again, so like we were talking about being in touch with the shadows and the light, dark feminine and masculine, they get shit done. They're like, no bullshit, you know what I mean? They're like, we gotta move these barriers away, and I'm gonna do the hard work for you so that we can bring you into the light, right? So whereas the light is like love and nurturing and things like that, it's a beautiful thing. The dark feminine and masculine also are gonna help you get done what needs to be done. So building a relationship with that part of yourself and understanding, again, these are parts of the self. We have to recognize these parts of the self. We cannot push those parts of the self aside, because again, you have to look at it like a child. What happens when you push them aside? They're going to throw a tantrum and start wilding out, and then you're not going to have control. Energetically, again, yeah, that balance of the light and the dark. And then, so yeah, really asking yourself, what is my relationship with the dark feminine or masculine part of myself? How is that different from the light feminine or masculine part of the self? And we're really going to be connecting in a deeper way. So the new moon in Pisces is a reminder that our subconscious work is alive and vibrant. So new moons are great. This new moon in particular is great for like high magic, meaning just like a lot of really spiritually deep magical workings. Pisces is a very mystical, magical sign. More specifically, it's going to be about connecting with the magic within. How we can use our emotions and our feelings, and how we can use that as magic. Pisces, like I said, is a very mystical and magical sign. It's also highly intuitive and psychic. So it is empathetic. Empathetic meaning it can feel the emotions of others. You soak in emotions of others. So like clairempathy is one of the clairs of intuition. Similar to like clairsentience, which is like this feeling. I can feel the energies around me. And that's why, again, like we've been talking about, it's very important to identify what is my energy and what is the energy outside of the self. We're going to deeply feel this connection with everything around us, and Pisces says, I believe. So it's like, do you believe in yourself and your own magic? Very important question. So new moons offer us this ability. It's like planting seeds, it's dreaming, it's manifesting, right? It's like setting our intentions for the lunation ahead. A good prompt for this new moon in Pisces: what gifts lie dormant within my subconscious that I want to see manifest and grow more fully in my reality? So what is hidden beneath the surface? Because again, like we said, a lot of psychic insights are going to be coming in. We are going to be blown wide open. That's why we've been getting all these intuitive zaps. That's why the dreams have been coming. We've been going through an activation of awakening. So it's really a call to like look at what gifts are inside of me. What are things that maybe I don't know all the way about? What can I learn more about them? How can I be more deeper in tune to the magical gifts that are within me? Whether, you know, there's a lot of clairs of intuition. There's 8 of them. We can carry multiple. They can come to us at different points in our lives, and clairs are just things of knowing. They're different knowings, right? So being really in tune with that and asking that and making that an intention in any new moon workings that you're doing, or when this new moon energy is around, is saying, what gifts am I trying to manifest more fully in my reality? It's also going to have us asking, what have I been dreaming of, and what's been stopping me from getting it? What fears do I need to overcome to manifest my dreams? Yes.
Ashley, you just talked about the clairs. It's something that I know that you're going to have a series on starting next week.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So what we'll be doing a series on the clairs of intuition. And like I said, there's 8 clairs. So what we'll go over is what the clairs are, things you can do to kind of work, because they're muscles, right? So to work on those muscles, and how they show up and how those gifts can become more prevalent in your life, because you can actually have all of the clairs activated. We actually all have the energy of having the clairs, and it's a muscle, just like we all have gifts. Like it's all things. So it's really just knowing how to work with them, knowing how to identify them. I'll be giving like herbal allies to even work with them, exercises to do. It'll be great. It's gonna be lit.
Does everyone know what clairs are?
No.
So clairs are So the clairs of intuition are known. Yeah, so they're the clairs of intuition. So like clairvoyance, you'll hear a lot. It's actually one of the most least common clairs that you can have. Yeah, which is the vision. So it's actually that's a really cool one. But claircognizance is just like innate knowing. Like you just know something's going to happen before it happens.
But you can't explain.
But you can't explain where it comes from. There's clairsalience, which is like smell. So like sometimes if you smell something out of nowhere, sometimes like if your ancestors show up, it's like tobacco or certain roses. Yeah, just like anything like that. Clairgustance, that's like taste. So that's like you can actually get visions through tasting something, or like know where something is exactly coming from, knows who put hands on it. I mean, and I'm not gonna go into all of them right now, but there's 8 of them, but it's really interesting. There's a lot of them, and it's really cool. And again, gifts activated. I wrote that. A lot of gifts are being activated. Like I said, we're going through an initiation in a sense.
Yeah, because now I could feel energies.
Yes.
Like before, they just used to hit me. I didn't know why I was feeling this way, but now I could feel them when they come into my aura.
Absolutely.
Is that why I'm seeing so many angel numbers like every day?
Okay. And we're also
they're everywhere.
Yes, constantly. Yes. And it's like we're actually going through this ascension too, where it's like we're almost going from 3D to 5D ascension. And so in between there's like this 4D realm where like if you've been seeing a lot of like shadow spirits and a lot of like things moving around, you know, like that's something that's happening because it's like they're living in this, like we're shifting.
In between.
I keep
Yeah.
looking out of the corner of my eye and I'm like, maybe it's just my mediumship, but that makes sense.
And it is, and it's just like in the shadow, and that's a whole nother conversation we can get into about the shadow people, because there's different types of shadow people, and like the clearest, the way that I work with the shadow realm, because I work a lot in the dark too. I'm very comfortable in the dark and in those spaces, and so what I tell people, because it's not good to be afraid of those shadow people. A lot of times we're like, oh my God, it's a shadow person. So typically a negative shadow person or energy is going to carry this very dense energy. It's going to be very heavy. And you'll notice they won't come to you. They'll never come to you right to your face. And if they do, they'll have like a mask on. Like it's a very clear thing. Whereas like a shadow person who is like an entity or just like a soul who's passing who hasn't fully like manifested or is just like moving in that realm will be very wispy. It'll be very light. The energy is very light. It's not heavy. Like there's this denseness with darker shadow energies or like tar spirits, which are like essentially they're like minions of demons is what a tar spirit is, right? But shadow people, there's all kinds of shadow people. So that's why I say it's very comfortable or like very important to get comfortable in the shadows so that you can tell the difference. Because also the only way that you can successfully navigate these darker energies is to know who they are.
Right.
To know the difference. And when you can identify that and you can move in that realm without fear and understand that you have the power in that situation, you take their power away, and then you know how to protect yourself.
That's why intention and protection is so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let you say what you're ready, because that's what you're trying to do.
Yes.
But just to say, would you say that density might be a show of kind of the aggression that they do?
Absolutely. 100%. Because think about the denseness that like anger or hatred carries. It's the same energetic. Yep, everything's energy.
It's kind of like how they bully you, you know?
Yeah.
You can have a class on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk
We'll
all
learn
day
all
about
the
that.
things, about all the shadows.
Yeah, because like in the practice that I do, and even that Becca does, like it's very important to be able to work in that realm, like and to not be afraid of that realm without fear. That's the biggest thing because they feed off of the fear.
That's right.
Even that's what they want, and it's like you.
And we're in a perpetual state of it about everything.
All the time. And again, that's where we talked about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So like even in those situations where you're feeling like these energies coming through, it's like taking a moment to breathe into your body and ground into the present moment of your energy so that you can better identify, navigate, project away from that other energy. Does that
And
make
guys,
sense?
I am not soliciting coming here, but Kundalini yoga with the
Oh, yeah.
breath work
It's
helps
great.
with that.
Yes.
I didn't know I started like
Jaw's great. Jaw's actually one of my teachers. He's my
Yeah, Jaw is amazing.
Jaw's amazing. Josh
She
lit.
messaged me and I was like, I don't know. She's like,
breath
"You
work.
do it."
I see
Okay.
that was my
There's some, I know, and you know what? He likes to give it rough. So
It
he's,
makes me breathe.
Yeah.
middle of her body strength.
yeah,
He doesn't play,
He don't
that's
play.
for sure.
he's an amazing gift, yeah. Yeah, so like I said, gifts activated, and also like this energetic of ancestral attunement happening. And again, like she was saying, like being in our roots. Root down so you can rise is like a mantra that came through a couple months ago. The ancestors are like, root down so you can rise, and it's just like this connection to your ancestors is so vital in moving in the everyday life, because it's not only a remembrance of them, it's a remembrance of the self. And yeah, ancestor, we could talk about that all day too. But tuning into your guides to become rooted in who you are becoming is going to be important as the energy keeps moving. So it's a reminder of where you came from, so that you know how to move forward. Rooting down in your own energy so that you can move more freely with all of the energy swirling around. And then the end of the month is going to be highly intuitive. Again, like we were saying, finding you very tapped in. We will also be feeling very expressive about that. Venus will be leaving Pisces and entering Aries with Chiron and Jupiter. So the way we love and find pleasure in the world is changing, and things will start to move fast around the end of the month. Again, we're coming into March. Mercury and Mars are moving out of their shadow phases too, so when we have retrograde with planets, there's like a 2-week period before and after a retrograde where there's still kind of like lingering energies, right? And so they're going to be moving out of their shadow, yay. And so all these stuck feelings, all this stuck in the mud, or just like, I'm doing all these things and things aren't moving as quickly as I want to, and why? It's going to start dissipating, so yay, that's a gift. Be on the lookout for all of the wounds and hurts that have been surfacing over the past month. Be able to identify those and to like really be grateful for those things that came up, because we're going to be able to communicate about them more and get past them. If you don't have anyone to talk to about it, again, like I was saying, journal it, release it all, and leave nothing left unsaid. Because again, it's like only can we be illuminated to the light by diving into the darkness of the self. So making sure you get it all out of the headspace onto paper, or, you know, again, with community or someone close to you. Because like I said, February wants us to write out these things. They want us to write our ideas and our thoughts, so that way we can take inventory, one, to clear up mental space, and also to see what we can bring into reality and what we need to table for later. The last week, this is going to be even more prevalent in our awareness. It's going to give us a mix of brilliance in our thoughts, which can also be a little overstimulating, so watch out for your nervous systems. Again, the breath work, nettle, lemon balm, ashwagandha. These things are great for the nervous system, and if you need anything about, like, information about that, just let me know. There's also going to be a lot of intellectual breakthroughs happening that, and again, this reminder that not all ideas and thoughts are keepers. So like, writing, so I literally wrote that, that's funny. So writing it down, I probably like chuckled to myself too when I did it. They'll give you the opportunity to see it all laid out and figure out again what is useful and what isn't. The 22nd Mercury is trining Mars, and we're this feeling of like erraticness. Is that a word? Feeling erratic. And like our thoughts are going to be going a mile a minute the last week in February. The energy of Mars and Mercury is going to kind of smooth things out and give it a little bit of direction to where we are going. We'll feel in the flow of being able to communicate and put action towards all the ideas that are coming through. We'll be able to initiate, because again, Mars is that initiator, it's that warrior, it's that dominator, it's like, let's get it done, right? So we'll be able to put, and Mercury being the planet of communication, of the intellect, of the data, of the mind, it's so we're going to be very assertive and being able to intellectualize and communicate our thoughts very freely, very dominantly, very aggressively. So midweek, oh, I love that I put this. So midweek and the end of pretty much the last week, I'll also say all the time movement is good, but it'll be very important with all of this energy, this intellect, like energy coming through the head space, the mental space, to move your body, to move your body. Yes, like movement practice. I work with my ancestors so hardcore with the movement practice. It's like, that is the best way. Go put your feet on the earth, even if it's just stomping your feet on the earth, even if it's just flowing the body, just letting the body move in a primal way without thought, no choreography, just listening to the body. What does the body need to do to express? Because with everything funneling through the mental space, that's the most important time to get in your body and shake the energy out, right?
Literally shake it.
Because it's stabilizing your energy within. And then also, probably won't hear this, but the last few days there might be a little bothersome energy. Mercury is making some half squares with Venus and Jupiter. So know that this is all leading to resolution. Again, like squares create tension to bring things to the surface of your awareness so that you can work through it, right? It drudges stuff up, so you have to look at it and move past it instead of brushing it under the rug. So ask yourself, how can I expand how I think about what I need to be loved and to pull in my desires? What is my relationship with selfishness? And am I able to balance the difference between being selfless and selfish? So really understanding the framework you hold around the word selfish. A lot of times we look at being selfish as a negative thing, when really it's just about understanding and doing what we need for us, right? There's an energy with being selfish in a malicious way and an energy with being selfish in a way, like she was saying earlier, like know when to say no. Know that no is one of the most powerful forms of self-love that you can give yourself, and that no is an answer. There doesn't need to be an explanation that follows it. Like understanding that no is enough, and you don't have to embellish on that. You know what I mean? And it's not our jobs to be responsible for the reactions of others. It's our jobs to show up as our true authentic self and allow ourselves to be received in that expression, and not, mold ourselves to make someone else feel comfortable. Because when we do that, then we don't allow them to even love us or show up for us or be in relation with us in a truthful way, right? If we hold ourselves back and we feel like we're being selfish and we hold ourselves back from expressing our true nature, expressing what we really need, then we don't get others the opportunity to show up for us in the way that we need them to, right? They're showing up for the mask. We don't need that. We ain't doing that no more. So some herbal allies for the month. Oh, sorry. Your turn.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
I got the little side note.
Yeah.
It's okay. No, I just remember that.
Thank
That's
you.
how I set it up.
That's why
It's
I love
okay.
you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so speaking on what she just spoke about. Okay, so this 7 universal year. Okay, so first I just want to mention she was talking about like all of the information that's being funneled through the head space. Okay, so if you think about the chakras, the 7th chakra is the head chakra, right? That's how we get all of this divine information that comes to us from spirit, right? So yes, definitely allowing it, because you don't want it all stuck up here in the head space. Definitely allow it to move through the body, through movement. I feel like it also, and this is just me personally, I feel like it helps you kind of, compartmentalize things a little bit better, because it's not all jumbled in there. So 7 gives us a peek into our awareness. As I mentioned earlier, 7 is the number of like our mysticism, the things that we really can't explain, that's something that we can dive deep into. And yes, there are going to be a lot of activations, like she said, a lot of a lot of head and heart activations this month. And it'll actually, it'll continue throughout this year, but we'll really start to notice them starting this month. Heightened senses, moments of, like she said, overwhelm. So yes, it is very important to move the body, move some of this energy out, because it's gonna be a little heavy, a little overwhelming. Yes. So, and it's also important though to conserve your energy where you can. So like she was saying no, not over obligating yourself, not signing up for everything that comes down the pike. So this is also a great month to do cleanses and detoxes, if that's your thing. And I was also shown, in my channeling, I was shown the periodic table, and I was like, oh my gosh, do you know how long it's been since I've taken chemistry? Like, don't do this to me. But I was shown the 9th element. And I was like, okay, well, that correlates with the 9, universal month. But the 9th element is fluorine, and it's a gas. So it's associated with air. And I was like, okay, cool. what about it? But it's a halogen gas. It says, let it flow like fluorine is the message that I got. And I was like, okay, checks out. Sounds good, But it also, like, you think about, what do they call it? Neon signs, illuminate, kind of let it flow and allow yourself to shine, I guess, is in a corny way. That was kind of the message that came through. But yeah, and it is an air dominated year, the 7 universal energies. So it kind of checked out. It made sense to me. Let it flow in your system, literally and figuratively. And this is a good month to lay rest any issues with people in your life. So tie up loose ends, make sure that you're satisfied with the results, approach things from a more heart-centered space as indicated by the 2 of February. I also got a message surrounding education. So like I said earlier, 7 is the number of knowledge and wisdom and communication, higher learning, academic pursuits. So people will be looking for more unique ways of teaching in order to gain perspective, especially in the classroom. So people will be like thinking outside the box when it comes to education and teaching, and looking for new methods of teaching and communication within the classroom. So with this 9 energy of this month, it's about educating through experience. 9 carries like a lot of life experience, a lot of soul experience. It's the number of the old soul, right? So we really need to be listening to those people who have really, done these deep dives. The 9th house in astrology is about educating through experience. So that checked out too.
And intuition.
And intuition, exactly. So, I am seeing this trend, and this is just kind of what I saw, was a trend of like teachers looking to how people in other countries teach,
It's the house of travel too.
Exactly, yeah. So looking outside the box and looking at how like these other cultures and these other countries like are, teaching their children, teaching each other, adopting new ways of life. We might just be seeing like a total overhaul in education anyway this year, because that's kind of the direction that it's going. So yeah, giving kids like all these opportunities for fresh perspectives would be incredible. So it's important to learn and teach about different cultures anyway. And so I see this shift like becoming more prevalent as this year goes on. Now I want to talk a little bit about, since we've already experienced the full moon, I want to talk about the new moon that's coming up on the 20th. It'll be the new moon in Pisces, as I think you mentioned.
I did.
You did.
And
And
where were you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I was just trying to ground my energy a little bit. So anyways, February 20th is, as I've said, there's going to be a reflection. It's going to be a 2 universal day, but it's actually going to be an 11-2. So it's going to be that master number 11. So 11, 22, and 33 are master numbers, so they carry like a more potent energy. It's not that they're better or anything than other numbers, but they just carry like bigger lessons, bigger rewards, bigger energy. This was also, the new moon in January was also an 11-2 universal day as well. I thought that was interesting. So this makes a potent energetic stew with a heap of emotions and intuition. Yay. So, and Pisces rules the 12th house, right? So, which deals with the subconscious, the dreamscapes, and intuition. It rules the pineal gland, endorphins, and melatonin. So we might be sleepy that day. Yeah. I will bet money that we will all be sleepy that day.
It's also the last sign in the zodiac too, so again, like that energy of just like completion.
Exactly. So we're gonna have massive downloads on this day too, I bet.
Fun birthday for me.
Oh,
Your birthday's on the new moon?
On the 24th.
Nice.
Oh.
Like right after.
So right after.
very cool. So yeah, with the combination of the 2 of February, those energies, and then the 2 universal day, we definitely have the opportunity to like build upon our intuitive gifts, and maybe start, kind of like you were mentioning, like I was like, I was never able to do this before, and now I'm able to do this. So it may look different for everybody, obviously, but just kind of take note of what you notice on that day, in particular. So we have this opportunity on this day to be of service to others, to reach out, love on somebody. You see somebody hurting, or you see somebody struggling, like offer your assistance. It's like, I'm able to do this. How can I help you in that way? It doesn't have to necessarily be with spiritual gifts. It could be like, hey, I have $2 and you have no dollars. Here's $1. Like just helping somebody in some kind of way would be super beneficial, and I guarantee you it's going to come back to you tenfold. So finding value in our connections and helping to enlighten others, as 11 is the number of enlightenment. It's kind of like we've been through all of these numbers. We've been through this number line, and then we get to 11, and it's like we can implement this wisdom, and we can like be on that next level, and we can call all these things in. So with it being on the 20th day of the month, there's this theme around truth in relationships, desiring loyalty and peace, acceptance of both ourselves and others. It's like I see you, and I see where you're at, and that's okay, and I'm here, and that's okay. We can just be where we are, meeting each other where we're at. It's beautiful.
Can I say this mantra? I'm so sorry because I'm
Okay.
laughing in my head.
It's okay.
So one of my teachers, his name is Prashanti, and he has this mantra, and it's just, people are where they're at. That's that.
Yeah.
That's literally all it
Perfect.
is.
That is perfect. Say that on the new moon. I love it. I love that. So yeah, and also I feel like there's going to be a lot of like soul level connections happening on that day as well. Very likely anyways, especially if that's something that you've been calling in for yourself. Because as calling it, or it would be a great day to call it in, as the new moon is when we like call things in, and the full moon is when we release. So if that's something, you want some soul family in your space, this would be a great time to do that. So that's what I have for that.
Yep. Well,
So
let me
if you
just
want to
go
talk
the
about the
herbal
herbs,
for the
go
month.
ahead. Yeah.
So for this month, so again, she was talking about detox and purifying the body, very important. And like roots came up. And really it's just about like releasing any stagnancy from the winter. So detox doesn't necessarily mean food. I mean, it does, but like detoxing like the lymphatic system, the respiratory system, the nervous system, things like that. So burdock root came through. Burdock root is fantastic. It cleanses and strengthens the liver.
How you spell it?
Burdock, Burdock. And then it's also very nourishing. It's energetics. So all plants carry like energetic blueprints. So it's very nourishing and moistening to the body. So as like the winter, it's like kind of drying things, like we feel kind of dry, cold, things like that. It's going to kind of moisten things and nourish the body and the system, and strengthen that liver that's working overtime right now. Calendula or marigold is another great one to work with. If you look at the plant, like it's yellow, so it's kind of like representative of the sun, like it makes you happy, it makes you think like that, but it also cleans out our lymphatic system really well. And it's also a great gastrointestinal herb. So like if you suffer from like IBS or like Crohn's disease or like anything like that, it's super great for those things. It's going to be great for the digestion. And again, like any of these digestion herbs too, like you have to think everything in the physical body is directly tied to the emotional body. So you can usually tell how you're doing emotionally by the state of your physical body. So if you are sick or you've gotten sick a lot recently, think about how your emotions have been and how you've been handling them. If you've been feeling like superly erratic in your emotions, your digestion is probably effed up, like quite honestly. Like you probably either are constipated or everything's coming out too much, or there's just like a lot of discomfort in that region. And so that's where our sacral chakra is, which is our bowl of our emotions. It's the water, it's what we hold. So a lot of times if you have like unprocessed emotions, if you're not speaking your truth or working through your emotions, your digestion system is probably out of whack.
That is so true.
You know what I mean? So it's like always understanding that anything that's happening in the physical body is a direct representation of our emotional body. That is truth. Red clover is a blood purifier. So again, like a lot of these are blood purifiers as well, you know, working with the lymphatic system. So it's like, and the blood is also indicative to ancestors, right? So that's why it's really important right now too to be purifying the blood, to be working through that. Red clover is great for that. For women, it's also great for balancing the hormones and helpful with like reproductive things and things of that nature. Nettle, love nettle. It's an OG. Nettle, again, it's holding like this energetic of like moistening, nourishing. It flushes our system out. It's a great anti-inflammatory. And you know, just inflammation in the body is just like too much heat in the body, like too much stagnant energy in the body. And it also helps to build healthy blood cells. Schizandra, I love Schizandra. I take Goji and Schizandra every day.
How do you spell that?
Schizandra is SCHIZ or SANDRA.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great blood purifier. It gives us energy. It kind of helps with immunity. It makes you nice and moist and gushy. And my ladies, keeps things nice and moist. So let's just say that.
Can they be mixed together? Can they be used together?
They can be, yeah. You can mix. So like I would say with these things, if you're talking about a mixture right now, I would say I would do Schizandra, Goji, nettle, and just stick with that.
Wait, I
How you spell Goji?
Goji.
Oh, the goji berry.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it true though? I'm so sorry because I'm in
Yeah.
I'm in healthcare. If you have like blood thinning or any kind of blood pressure, isn't there some blood stuff like this that could be a little bad if it's over?
So if it's overused,
Yeah.
none of these are gonna affect
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I'm very none of these are gonna
'Cause I
affect
know
that.
mugwort can be.
Mugwort is
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
No. No.
Also, no.
Yeah. Dandelion, but that was a great question, and I appreciate that. And yeah, as I'm very nerdy about it, and like I make sure like to check interactions and think, because 100%. And a lot of the herbs that I work with too, I tie the spiritual and the physical aspect of it in. So a lot of these things, if you look at them, could be used magically for clearing, cleansing, protection, things like that. Dandelion root is also another one that came through. Again, this is going to clear our digestive system. With all of these emotions that are flowing through our body right now and all of the turmoil that we're going through emotionally, dandelion root is going to help to regulate our digestive tract. It's going to clear things out. It's going to keep the colon nice and clean and get everything moving, you know. We love that. So magically, a couple herbs, and it's actually stuff that's burning right now, that's been burning the whole night. Is for psychic attunement and protection. So again, we've been talking about a lot of psychic attacks happening as gifts come in, as we are going through activations. We're conduits, right? So we're open channels. So if any energy could come in, right? So very important. That's what we're talking about protection, because it's like as we're being opened up, as we're being activated, good and bad energy can come in. So it's important to protect yourself. So right now, yarrow is one of like my staples in my ancestor magic. It is a beautiful ancestral offering and herb to use. YARROW. Eyebright, that's going to help with our sight. So eyebright is actually very good medicinally for a physical eyesight, but in a magical sense, it is good for our spiritual sight, for that inner sight, for the mind's eyesight. It opens the third eye to visions.
Can you spell that for me?
Eyebright, so EYEBRIGHT. I'm like, can I spell? Clove, and a lot of these things too. So I always invite people when they work with folks. First disclaimer with herbs: when you're using them in magic, herbs carry a lot of different properties. Some herbs have like 50 different things that they'll do. Like they're out here putting in the work. So when you are using herbs in any of your magical workings, or even when you're using them medicinally, is very important. always whisper to my herbs. I talk to my herbs.
Yeah.
No, I really do.
Well, no, yeah, the intention.
And you have
gotta let
to,
them know.
but it's like you have to give them a job, or they're just out here throwing at. I'm sorry, or throwing ass. Because they don't know what to do. So it's like, and they're just like, I'm gonna do everything. And so intention is so important, and potent magic, potent spell work, or just working with the spirits or working in that realm. It's a lot easier to get. I know. No, she kills me.
Y'all don't want to know what's going on in my head all the time. Like, I just saw like herbs being like,
They do
okay,
that.
I'm done.
So that's why whenever you're working with them, speak your intentions into them. Give them thanks for the work that they're about to do for you, and let them know what they're doing, so that way you have a more defined funnel of your workings, right? So clove is another one. Oh, and also it's like if you smell these herbs and you touch them and you look at them, you can usually tell what their properties are, which is super interesting. So like clove is a good example of that. It's like if you smell clove, everything opens up, right? You can just feel it opening up. You just feel like this tingling happening in the top of your head. So it's a great for working with protection magic, for psychic attunement. Because it's very pungent as well, right? So it's like this pungent energy, so like you think about being protected with that, but also it's like this, it opens things up, so it's opening our crown, it's opening our third eye, and it's great for anything like that. Thyme is another great herb used for a lot of different things, but it's really great for protection, and especially like spiritual attunement and protection. And then rosemary is so good for so many things, but rosemary is going to cleanse any negative unwanted energies from around your auric field, from around your space. I like to use rosemary in lieu of white sage. You know, we have to be very careful about some of these herbs that we're using, just because some are endangered. So I also say, like, please be knowledgeable about what you're using and make sure that it's sourced ethically. I know that you source a lot of your stuff very ethically, so just make sure that they're being sourced from a good place. But rosemary is a great substitute for sage if you don't have access to sage, and it's going to clear negative energies, it's going to cleanse your auric field, it's going to purify it, and it's going to put all the good stuff in. So it's great for that. I wrote Becca because I was going to go a little bit into March really quick.
Yeah, we can talk about March if that's okay with you guys.
It's like 2 seconds.
Touch on it.
Yeah. Touch on it.
Also, I wanted to point out, she was talking about like how the energies are speeding up, and that was one of the cards I pulled for this evening was speed, which represents movement. So checks out. So March is going to be, so we're coming to the end of the number wheel, right? So we are going into a 10-1 universal month in numerology, and 1 has a different energy than 9, right? It's beginnings, We're gonna really feel like after we've done all this stuff and we've done all this work and we've done the shadow work, and we are going to have this renewed sense of enthusiasm. And thank goodness, right? Because we've been dealing with these like kind of like denser, like heavier energies. Like, do what?
I didn't hear what she said.
Oh, sorry.
She said it's hard out in these streets, these energies are it's okay.
Putting on a sense, I'll just be able to cry for half an hour and go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we're gonna be kind of like we're gonna kind of dispel some of this heaviness, and we're going to be, walking into March with this like renewed sense of just like clarity, vision, enthusiasm. Like if you think about the numbers as like different ages, like 1 is kind of like a toddler. It's kind of like a baby, and they're just like, I look at all this stuff, I'm just gonna like put everything in my mouth and touch everything and I'm gonna go over here where I'm not supposed to go, and it's like we're just gonna be trying new things, and it's gonna be a very welcomed energy, and it just lines up so beautifully with the fact that it's the astrological new year starting, and it's Aries season, coming into Aries season. And we really will like have some kind of fire under us to get things done and to start things and be like, you know what, I did this work and I'm gonna reward myself, so Aries says I am, and the 1 says I am, and and I'm here and I'm gonna do stuff, you know. So it's gonna be a very action oriented month. Yes, I'm very excited about it. So
I think
okay.
they look like, Cogito, is it Cogito Arrow Sum? I think therefore I am. So
Yep.
February is the time of thinking, and now you're becoming.
Yep. Yes. Love that.
yes, thank you.
That's,
I know.
sorry. Sorry. I'm listening to my body, anyways.
Practicing what you preach,
Yes,
ma'am.
100%. Always. So, going into March, we have a lot of planets changing signs. The sun is in Pisces, and then it enters Aries towards the end of March. Mercury enters Pisces, and then Aries. Venus enters Taurus, and then 3 big things are happening, which is kind of why this energy of like it's the new year. So Saturn is moving into Pisces after being in Aquarius since 2020. So we've got this new energy coming, which is going to be amazing. Mars enters Cancer after this longer than usual transit, because it typically doesn't like stay in a sign for so long, but just kind of with the ping-ponging retrogrades and things that were happening. So it's going to move into Cancer, which... and then
What was that?
Mars in Cancer, so it's just like not in. So think like Mars is fire, is like this warrior energy. Cancer, I'm a Cancer ascendant, so I'm just like, which is a beautiful thing. Cancer
You're
is
just gonna cry
receptive,
so hard.
emotional cries. So it's almost like think about like putting a wet blanket on fire. Anyways, I mean, there's like 2 ways you could look at that.
2 whole different ones.
It's like really
Yeah.
like
It's the third.
hyper emotionality. Like think about that. So it's like fire behind like really highly emotional sign. It's just like emotions are gonna be a little heightened.
On fire.
Yeah. And then Pluto is moving into Aquarius after being in Capricorn since 2008. 2008. I was going to say 18, but 2008. And so it's going to kind of like retrograde back into Capricorn a little bit over, and then it'll kind of stay in Aquarius. November of next year is when it'll stay in that sign for the long haul. So we'll kind of be having some back and forth energy with Pluto going from Aquarius, Capricorn, but and then it'll stay still the end of next year. So Saturn in Pisces will bring more fluidity to structures, in my opinion. I can feel this sense of like mastery and gifts. So like Saturn is the planet of mastery. It's the planet of like our foundations, our structures. Even though like in a traditional astrology it would be said to kind of have an androgynous nature, in modern astrology you see it being associated with like this father energy, right? Saturn is all about our limitations, our restrictions, and not like where am I restricting myself where I should be allowing myself to be free of limitations. Like, you know what I mean? So there's like 2 sides of that, right? It's not just I'm limited. It's like, where am I limiting myself where I could be expressing myself more fully? We're going to become more grounded in our spirituality when Saturn moves into Pisces, because again, it's got this grounding energy, this foundational energy, and Pisces is a very spiritual sign, a very intuitive sign. So that's beautiful. It's going to be easier to access our gifts and transitioning them into the reality of our day-to-day structure. It's going to be more in flow. We're going to be able to step more into that I am without like those outdated social notions of shame that's attached to it. It's going to be a beautiful thing. I'm really excited about it. But it also might give us this sense of feeling crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times, you know, where it's like these gifts are coming in, it's like, oh, am I really seeing this or hearing this? It's like, listen to your body, trust in your body, it is real. And what is reality? It's just something that feels real within the self, right? It can be a lot, our reality can literally shift in each moment. So like being mindful of that. Be grounded. Don't let yourself succumb to the awakening system or symptoms, or at least be aware of what they are and how to understand them, which is really important. So like ascension symptoms, like being very tired sometimes, headaches out of nowhere, and some of them might feel similar to like a psychic attack in a sense, but it's just like spurts of like having a whole lot of energy. It's almost like a bipolar energy, honestly, of like ascension symptoms, because it's like you might experience really extreme lows and then really extreme highs. So like being grounded in your body and constantly checking in with your energy is vital right now when you're moving through those, and making sure you have routines in place to soothe. So like personally for me, it's like if I'm doing a lot of channeling, or, you know, throughout the day, or like things are happening, I know I need to be in water. And I'm a Cancer ascendant, so water is very soothing for me, and I also need to do movement. So there was a time where I didn't do movement, and I would literally do sessions and I would be out. Like I couldn't, and we're supposed to be a conduit, right? So energy is supposed to flow through us. It's not supposed to drain us when we're doing those things. So I learned, like, per my design and per, you know, what felt good in my body, movement is vital, to where it's like I have to do movement every day, and I can notice the difference if I don't do movement, like how my body feels, how I'm channeling messages, how I'm showing up in the world. So like starting to really identify, what do I need, what makes me feel better when I'm starting to feel this way, what is going to soothe me and calm me down. Super important, and it's going to be easier to recognize these things with Saturn being in Pisces. So Mars in Cancer will be a two-sided coin. What did I write? Of being able to control the emotions, but also, if we leave them unchecked, exploding. So I always like to use the analogy of a soda bottle shaking up and pressure building in it, and if we do not release that drip gradually, what happens? The top's gonna blow off and it's not controlled. You'll always hear me talking about anger. We have like this negative connotation with anger where we've been taught that it's not okay or savory to be angry, but there's a such thing as tempering the flames. There's a such thing as controlled anger. There's a such thing as understanding the emotional wheel and how that works, and that anger is a necessary part to burn away all the things that are not serving us to get to the other side of the thing. Because oftentimes what we do is we get to this point where it's like we're sad, and then we get angry, and it's like, oh, this feels a little uncomfortable, I can't be angry, so then we go back down into that preconceived or misconceived notion of safety, which is down here, and we don't allow ourselves to go all the way around the wheel, which is why you end up repeating cycles, because you don't allow yourself to be angry and understand it's okay to be angry sometimes when you've been hurt, or if something happens that you don't like, and as long as you are not taking it out on anyone and you are channeling that in a correct way, then you are allowing yourself to express fully, and you're allowing yourself to come into release, right? So anyways, that's what I'll say about that. And so Cancer is all about nurturing protection. It's ruled by the moon, so it controls, I'm sorry? Somebody said, oh. Already is, okay,
It's like clairaudience.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, okay. It's ruled by the moon, and it controls our emotional body. So it'll be this dance of being like very direct with our emotions, but also making sure that we don't become passive aggressive as well. So, you know, making sure you speak your truth, making sure you can do that in a controlled way, in a way that gets it out and is expressive, but make sure you don't get mad at anybody if you're not able to express yourself fully. Don't be passive aggressive. Nobody likes that. All right, it's not good for you. It ain't good for nobody else. It carries a fiercely loyal energy, the Mars in Cancer, which is nice. But it also may give this feeling of like jumping to defend your emotions. Like you might feel like you have to jump and be on guard with everything. Just be mindful. Take a breath. Don't take everything personally or seriously. It's going to be very important when Mars is in Cancer. Just be mindful. Be in touch with your body, and again, what's your energy and what isn't. And then Pluto moving into Aquarius, like I said, it's going to retrograde several times back into Capricorn until entering for good next November. But while it's in Aquarius, expect deep transformations that will be quite significant. Pluto is all about death, rebirth, transformation. Again, it's that dynamite comes in small packages kind of energy that it holds. In Aquarius, we can expect to see a lot of this in transformation, specifically to technology, and the collective mindset. The state of the world will be making big shifts, a lot of preconceived notions about like societal structures and the way things are happening, like a lot like Becca was saying. That's why it's so fascinating when the numbers and the astrology go together. But like a lot of power structures that are existing right now are going to kind of start crumbling. You're going to notice them crumbling down, and not only in the external world, it's also going to be in the internal world. What societal structures have I held on to? What templates have I been operating from that have been put on me and programmed into me from my childhood or from the world around me that need to be let go of, that aren't truth? It's going to be super important.
What do we truly value? Absolutely.
There's going to be this spark of kind of enlightenment, this explorations into new frontiers of the self and into the world around us. A lot of like future thinking. And then also March is going to include the spring equinox. So again, like looking back to nature, where it's like we've been in this state of darkness. We've been in this state of withdrawal, this seclusion within the self, this self-inventory, this self-accountability. Spring is going to come, so where it's like all this stuff has been marinating under the surface, and now it's going to break the soil. Yay, which is a great thing. And so like all of this prep work that we've been doing over the winter months, and so like moving into the rest of February, remember that. You're in a state of preparation right now.
Yes.
Everything that you want to come to fruition is coming, baby. You just gotta let it, you gotta just plan it out, do the work, understand we are in a time of planning, understand that the reason things have not been moving as fast as you want them to is because they're not supposed to. Because the earth needs time to rest, as do we. You are nature incarnate. So finish all of your last minute prepping now, all of the last minute things you wanna bring in before the equinox comes so that you're ready and you're doing it from a stable foundational structure within the self. Super important. Because
And now we know why.
Because it's kind of like this energy these past couple months is kind of like you're either going to step up or step out. It's like you're either going to show up to the energies that are shifting and show up for yourself, or you're going to get left behind, quite honestly, because the world's changing and you can either get with it or stay stuck, pretty much. So, and it's all about doing the work. It's all about showing up. It's all about remembering that that's why it's called a practice, because it's trial and error, and that there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just what feels like your truth. And showing up for yourself in that way and not worrying about how it's received by others. Just know, as long as I am showing up as myself, all I can do is be received. Period. That's all I got right now. Any thoughts?
Holy Spirit.
Activate. Any thoughts? Any of that resonating? How are you guys feeling, like with the energies pulsing and moving?
I had a question. If you wanted to put like a protection around your house, I know burning sage and stuff is good, but like, say if I wanted to set like crystals in my window or something, what would you recommend?
For like protection, it depends on what you're protecting from. If you're just trying to keep like negative energies away, black tourmaline in the corners, on the shelves. Selenite is a great one. That's gonna clear any energies from entering your house. There's a lot of like even some of these herbs that we talked about, putting those on the corners of your property is beautiful. Quartz, is a great crystal that can be charged to do anything. So
basically.
Yeah, it's
very
amplifier.
versatile.
It's versatile. So you charge it just like you would speak to your herbs. You charge it with your intentions.
You talking about the clear ones that be used to charge like crystals?
Yep.
Okay.
That's all. That's the OG. Just like you can. There's lots of different. Just like there's lots of different colors you can use for candle magic. White is always going to be, you can use that for anything. And again, it's just like
just
putting
speak my intentions into it. That's the
100%.
thing I got.
Intention is everything. Everything that we use are just tools. We are the magic.
Yeah.
We are the energy.
That's what I was.
You can meditate, visualize, and just really put everything.
They're just anchors into the physical to be a reminder. You know what I mean? And you can even create like your own personal sigil. I always suggest people do that if you need to know how to do that.
Yes. Sigils are so powerful
and have been coming through so hardcore. But like a sigil is pretty much a seal or a symbol that carries an energetic. So an easy way to create your own sigil is to write out your intention. It can be as long or as short as you want. Take out all the vowels, cross out all the vowels, and then take out all the repeating. So repeating letters. And then you'll be left with like a sequence of letters, and then from those letters you create a symbol that feels good based off of that.
You can like write them on top of each other.
With sigils.
And then you could even do that. And write that. And then write, and then it's very important you meditate with that afterwards, and you're putting whatever your message was, whatever it is, you're putting it into that symbol. You could even put that at the corners of your property. You could
write it in chalk.
You could write it in water. You could use Florida water. You could use rosemary water, infused water, and then you could just paint it salt water. You could do that. Eggshells, again, protection. Crushed eggshells. You know what I mean, and line that with your property, and there's a lot of things you can do.
I've done putting as she said, black salt, salt water, and putting in the corner of the house.
Yep.
That's everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Eggshells to use.
That's right.
Yep.
And I've often channeled symbols for people in readings. So if that's something that you're working on in your spiritual practice, like, in meditation, like channeling, maybe speaking to your ancestors, like we've been talking about, asking them, like, please show me a symbol that would be protective, or this, that, whatever your intention is, would be a great,
It's a great thing to
a
do.
great practice.
Because they're here to help us. And it's also remembering, like, when you're sitting in these because a lot of people will get, like, discouraged because they'll try to talk to their ancestors and they're like, they're not speaking to me. And it's like, sometimes you're sitting there for 30 minutes until you're, like, building a connection with them. It's like, also, it's about understanding our ancestors went through a lot of shit so that we could live in this existence and be able to express ourselves and even be able to say, like, we have gifts, or like doing in magic. So it's like understanding, sometimes you gotta wait. Sometimes they're like, oh wait, and they have other people to talk to too. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like being patient in that. Just like they put in all the work so that we could be here, be patient in that, and know that there's no correct timeline of things coming for anybody. It's different for everyone. And it's about building connection, building a relationship. So taking the time, getting pings of, like, leaving them offerings, asking them what they want or what smells they want.
That's what I need to know. I need to.
And it's like, it's just sitting, and it's like things, it's like we are so accustomed not trusting the things that come through our body that we just don't listen when things are said. So it's even like sitting there and just sitting in emptiness and asking the question, what is it that you need? What do you like? What do you feel? What can I do to be of service? What can I do to honor you? And whatever pops into your head, trust that that's what it is. And then work with that. And then as you do that, you'll notice the shifts that happen. You'll notice the energy change. And so really, again, it's like trusting in the body, noticing what comes through the body. When things come through the head space a lot, that's anxiety. Okay? When things come through the body, when you can feel a tangible emotion in the body, a tangible feeling in the body, that's truth. Yep. So it's like understanding that and recognizing that and knowing the difference of what is anxiety, what is not real, what is just like these thoughts circulating, and what is truth that is channeling through my body right now. And that's different for everyone. And different messages show up in different ways. So also understanding that it's going to show up differently. It can be tingles, it can be warmth, it can be coolness.
And once you trust it and let it open, it just gets wider.
It gets wider.
Yeah.
It's a muscle. These are all muscles.
It's cool once you learn that for that anxiety, learning how to let those thoughts travel in
and out.
Yes.
Let them come in, let them come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't identify with them. Just be like, okay, I've observed by,
Actually, I was about to compare into what you had mentioned about the slight obsessiveness over your own emotion. Because one thing, the first thing that popped into my head was, what are the things you're emotionally connected to, the people you're emotionally connected to? Be careful not to insert yourself in a way that can be harmful. Like, I'm sure there's quite a few parents in the world.
Oh,
So
yes.
if your kids get into a situation and you're tempted to pop off like the other person, you might want to be careful because you might make that whole situation worse.
Absolutely.
Because you're not acknowledging that those emotions, that reaction could be an emotional reaction. It could be a reaction to an emotional obsession.
Right.
Absolutely. With that person that's really just love being misplaced.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
One thing that Spirit told me one time, and it's just always stuck with me, is that depression is the dwelling of the past, and anxiety is the dwelling on the future, and that's why it's so important to be present in every moment as much as possible, And I feel like this anxiety, with this 7 year that we're in, anxiety could be very real because 7 is about the headspace, right? And it's about like pulling that down. And then just as humans, like, what are we taught from birth? Like, oh, it's all about logic. It's all about what the mind perceives. It's all about our thoughts and what we think, and it's like what other people think, and we're all supposed to take that on. We're never taught to listen to our bodies, and so we have this disconnect, we struggle with listening to our intuition, and we question our intuition in our headspace, so like she said, like anchoring back down into the body is so important,
So you can rise.
Exactly.
Because once you're rooted really down deep, that's when the plan gets the highest.
That's right.
Yep.
I love that. I love that visual. Thank you. She's just soaking it in over here. Well, I did have tarot correspondences,
Lay it on us.
if anybody wants to hear those really fast. So I've been like, I'm fairly new to studying the tarot, but I've been studying the tarot, and it's really interesting when you start learning like all the little different nuances, all the messages that are within the cards, So I pulled the High Priestess because we're in February. And it is the second card in the tarot, technically it's the third. There's the Fool, the Magician, and then the High Priestess, but this is number 2. And there's a reason why she was number 2, because it's the divine feminine, right? So I looked at all the little aspects of the card, because they're so fascinating. So the High Priestess represents our intuition, our sacred knowledge, divine feminine, subconscious, and duality. It can also be about diplomacy, which is also another beautiful aspect of the number 2. So one of probably the most prevalent symbol are the black and white pillars. There's the duality, within the card. And they have these letters B and J. Does anybody know what those stand for?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's
okay.
So the
They're from the Bible.
yes, they're from
Yeah.
So B stands for Boaz. And J, and I've heard it said different ways, so I'm just gonna say it the way that I think it's said. But Jachin is I think how it's said. So Boaz means in his strength, and Jachin means he will establish. So it's about like building new things, building new worlds. Kind of like an initiation, like walking in between the pillars. So knowledge and acceptance of duality is required in order to attain the crown of wisdom, which she is wearing. And that balance is necessary in all things. So the present, I feel like, is that balance between the past and the future, right? So anyway, I thought that was cool. She also has a scroll, which has the word Torah on it. So Torah represents the greater law, or the law of one. And it represents that sacred knowledge that we were talking about. It's both available and unavailable. It's kind of like there's things that we kind of intrinsically know, and things that we experience in life, like firsthand experience, and then there's things that we kind of have to work for, So it's like you're saying, doing the work is very necessary to acquire that sacred knowledge. And then the last little representation of here is the crescent moon. So I've been studying the moon phases as well, and I was like, of course it means this, so the crescent moon is the phase of the moon that represents the High Priestess, intuition, sacredness, nourishment, and laid foundations. And the number 2 on a planetary level actually represents the moon, and I was like, well, you're just making my job easy today. Which, of course, contains all of these same meanings about intuition and such. I also just wanted to give a shout out to the Hermit, because we are in a 9 universal month, and y'all know what the Hermit means. He's tired, he's ready to go to bed. No, but it represents, of course, going within, seclusion, humility. It represents, this little inner wisdom that exists within all of us. It's not just nobody's special, it's like everybody has this within them, and it's just about going within and finding it, right? Giving yourself time to do so. Lastly, I just want to talk about the stars. So this was actually channeled. I tapped into the energetics, and I was shown this card, and I was like, well, I'll incorporate that into this. So the star represents valued learning, knowledge, wisdom, collective consciousness. So it does kind of have like those 7 universal energies of the year that we're in right now. It also represents a renewed sense of hope and optimism, faith after situations that have challenged us. Like ongoing challenges, not just like, oh, I had a bad day. I'm talking about like stuff that's been going on for months, years, decades. So that kind of made me happy, and it kind of lines up with what the energetics of March too. It's the 17th card in the tarot. And that represents self-knowledge. So the 1 and the 7th, self-knowledge. Knowing what we know, trusting what we know is truth. It also represents our discipline, like how we discipline ourselves and the victories that come, even the small ones, as we take these steps forward, trusting what we know. Snap, so thank you. I will accept snaps. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. Do you have any questions? And like I said, if you are interested in your personal astrology or numerology or anything like that, you can reach out to us.
Do you guys have a card or something? Or you can do
We didn't bring cards. But I can give you like our social, like the social links that we have and email. We both have websites as well.
Yes.
And
so hers is it underscore?
Mm-mm. Well, for Instagram it is. My website is just lunarcrystalline.com.
Okay, lunarcrystalline.com.
Can you spell it out for me, please?
LUNARCYSTALLINE.
Elemento. And then lunar_crystalline on Instagram.
Email, you got email?
It's the same thing as Gmail.
Oh, okay.
And it's all on my website. And you'll be finding me here at Maria's.
Okay.
Yay! And then mine is Akashic_Bec.
Spell it out for me.
That's okay. AKASHIC_Bec. That's on Instagram.
B-E-C?
B-E-C, yes ma'am. And then my website is akashicbec.com, akashicbec@gmail.com.
Yep. Mine has an underscore on Instagram too.
Also,
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna love my shirt.
We'll be seeing a lot of them here, guys. So this is not the first and last time that you'll see them here. There's a lot of things that they're going to come here to do. So I'm excited about that. And that way, in case any of you guys were pressed for time that needed to go at a certain time, like, let me just get everything, while you're here. We'll try to be more mindful of that if we can.
Yeah.
That, and then we'll continue the next time. So it's always something to come back to get more information, to learn more, to do more.
Yes. And then everything we talked about tonight, it'll be on our Instagrams, it'll be on YouTube, and we have a podcast called So About These Vibes. It'll be on there as well. So you can go back because it was a lot of information.
Is
so
the YouTube called the same thing?
is it on?
It's
So About These Vibes.
Yes, So About These Vibes on YouTube.
Is what it is again?
So About